I awakened to unconditional love and learned this about depression. I learned that depression wasn't what I thought it was. I learned that depression itself, the depression, the pure depression itself, is nothing but love. It may be a hard pill to swallow, but I will explain. So when I surrendered completely to being depressed, I had been depressed for 10 years, so I didn't know what else to do. I surrendered completely to having this suffering, this despair. It was a very, very intense, severe form of depression with despair and anxiety and all that stuff. Very ugly, so ugly that it's so much suffering that you just can't anymore. So I surrendered because there was nothing else to do. But when I surrendered, I learned something about depression. And that was this, that depression in a way didn't really exist. Because when I looked at the depression itself, without trying to run away from it, without trying to change it, without trying to fix it or get rid of it or anything, without trying to improve my condition, my situation in any way, or the situation of the world in any way, just really curiously seeing, what is this depression? What is this thing? Like, let me truly, truly look at it without any resistance to it, completely surrendered and just being fully with the depression. And every time some resistance came up, I was just like, no, I'm done with that. It kept coming a little bit here and there, but it was like, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in this. I'm going to be with the depression. That's where I'm going to be. And then I noticed that a sense of love started to arise in my body, and it spread out throughout the whole universe. So I could see that all expression of life, all movement of life was love. And I saw that the movement of what I used to call depression, but wasn't really depression. It was the fighting against depression, which actually is what I used to see as depression itself. The depression, the pure depression itself, wasn't anything. It wasn't there. It was just, there was nothing but the fighting against something that wasn't there, that I call depression. And the fighting against this, the resisting it, trying to fix it, trying to get rid of it, that was coming from wanting to care for myself, wanting to make my situation better. And it was just, I was like, why am I doing that? Why am I trying to make my situation better? No, there was no real reason other than because I love myself. I want good for myself. It was like a fundamental movement, a loving, caring movement that was its essence. It was love for no reason. It was just a fundamental movement within me, which was seen to be everywhere in life. I could recognize it all around me. It's the movement of everything. And then I saw that, wow, so all this fighting, all this, the suffering itself, the fighting against suffering, was a movement that created unpleasantness and despair and all this condition that I didn't like. But its original intention was one of, I want to support myself towards a better place, toward a better state, towards a better condition, a better life. I want to support myself out of this condition that I'm in, this depression or suffering or despair or whatever, or anxiety, right? So seeing that it was actually just love at the heart of it. The love itself recognized the consequences, or the fruit of its action. And when it recognized this fruit, that wasn't what it truly wanted to, how it truly wanted to serve, the fruit kind of disappeared because it was a rotten fruit, so to say. And then the love uh, started serving more intelligently, serving in a way that is more easily recognized as love or support, caring, holding. That is how I saw that depression, or actually what we call depression, suffering, is actually a movement of love that has been twisted by ignorance, blinded innocently. And when it is truly seen for what it is, it may shift completely. I hope that makes sense. But what happened for me was that since then, which is now it's about 7 years ago, I haven't had any of that suffering again. 100% of that intense suffering just went away. And most of other forms of lighter suffering just went away as well, maybe 70%. Difficult to put a percentage on it, because as you go deeper and become more aware of subtleties of suffering, where we're holding on, where we're resisting, as we go deeper into that, new layers are revealed. But it was a major shift that just transformed my life completely. From that way of seeing, that recognition, from that moment on, a sense of unconditional love, unconditional care was always available, always with me in any situation. So when a couple of times later, actually, suffering, a sense of suffering wanted to rise and come up to become like this, how it used to be, but it couldn't. That's the thing. It couldn't, because as soon as it came to a certain threshold, it just was seen and then when it was seen, love just rushed forth and um, held me instead. It was seen that, oh man, here's this twisted expression of love again. It doesn't serve. And so it was just seen. It wasn't a thought. It was like, oh, there it is. And then it evaporated, and what was left was just a loving quality that was just holding me in peace, and just kind of a nurturing quality, like a I don't know, like a mother nurturing her child or something like that. And so a few times it tried to kind of come back, but it couldn't. It was game over for that old tendency of suffering, and so it stopped um, trying after some time. So in every situation where subtle forms of suffering appears, there's a loving quality that very easily can just naturally come and hold, which is true grace, I would say. If that is anything, it is grace available all the time. A true blessing, greatest gift that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. And it is my firm conviction that it's available to everybody because it is there. It is everybody. It is that movement. I hope this makes sense. And if you have any questions about it, please write in the comment, and I'd be very happy to try to respond and explain further as best as I can.